Hello, everyone. All right, so I do apologize. I meant to post this on Sunday, an announcement. Today's Thursday, but Wednesday. Anyway, I do apologize. Sorry about that. I usually try and class is kind of broken up in a couple different sections, so I tried to post something into the section. So here we go. Hope you guys had a good Fourth, everyone. Um, and let's just kind of recap some stuff. So. Don't know if anyone can recall the first lectures I put up. I highly doubt it. But at the beginning of the class, we talked about the line that separates history, why we go by that line, all these different things, right? And now we've kind of taken a look at the world a bit and seen some stuff. So let's recap it real quick. What you should have come through these first, whatever it is, 3 chapters or so, and taken a look at 15, 16, 17, 18, is a lot of the world looks alike, yet very different, right? Quite cliche, but as you saw, you go to Europe at the time in the 15 to the 16, 1700s, what's it look like? There's a king, there's a queen, they're usually quite a douche. People have no rights, they have absolute power, maybe possibly checked by a government kind of agency, parliament, the States General, advisors, the imperial court, these things. But overall, not much individual freedom, right? And then you travel around to Asia, you find the same thing. Instead of a king, you have an emperor with the same product. You go to the Muslim world, or what we call, quote, the Middle East, if you remember. You find the same thing with a sultan, with a harem, an imperial court. And you kind of look around and you see, oh, this is pretty much kind of the same story, just a different place. And then we start seeing some real changes there, though. So one of the biggest changes and shakeups that we have in history around this time is the Protestant Reformation, as we've talked about, right? This idea, remember, Christianity, although it is split, I hope everyone understands that between the Catholic Church and the other 4 original churches who call themselves Christians, they're still highly united in believing the same thing until this guy, Martin Luther, comes around and really shakes that up, right? This German monk. And hopefully you understand the Reformation now, yeah? I really hope so. It's one thing I really wish to impress on students and teach. I mean, remember, America is overall a Protestant nation, but we don't act like, we're some protesters or some new nation. We act like we've been around forever, but we haven't been. Remember that. Protestant Reformation. Okay, Luther. And one thing Luther, in a nutshell, let's just make it simple, is pushing, he may not know this, but what comes out of it is a closer to personal individual freedoms and a mass people's movement. It's known as, the Reformation is known as one of the first movement that really appeals to the people. Hey, just remember, the king and the Catholic Church, queens, whatever, they were all tied together. Yes, can you picture that? The Catholic Church, absolute governments of Europe, they love the Catholic Church. Oh, there's a leader at top, there's bishops and stuff below, the people are all below that, and they all have to listen to us. Perfect. And we listen to you on top? Yeah, no problem. But when that battle and strife started to get in there, that's when things became a problem. And you see this splitting up, and you see, hey, we don't need someone on top of us. I can go directly to God myself. We don't need the Catholic Church in our way. And that's a big, big difference. Okay, so Luther is a huge, huge issue. You're going to hear me flipping through the book, too, as we go through here. So again, don't forget about the Protestant Reformation. Then again, it's not the first one, but people that follow him and the printing press. It's like the internet, okay? For those of you born, well, most of you don't understand it, but if there are any older students like myself, the internet revolutionizes the world, okay? It takes it from snail mail to you can have something instantly. And that's what the printing press does to help Luther out. Witchcraft mania, we kind of covered that pretty well. I think you guys got that. And then finally, you saw absolutism under Louis XIV. It's kind of at its worst. And you saw this one real exception to that, the English, yeah? English, the Bill of Rights, they start pushing for this. So, America's not as original as we think, right? Most of the stuff we just copy, as you saw in the reading in the book, we copy everything from the English. The Glorious Revolution is this big moment in history where, hey, you can live without a king or you can live without a queen, and you can do things on your own, but it's taken us a long time to get there, okay? The Muslim worlds, hopefully you got there and you figured that out too. I'm just flipping through the book trying to give an overall announcement of the last 3 chapters. Same kind of thing, as you can see. What shocked many of you, I enjoyed reading your discussion boards, and that was really good that you guys started to see. It's not propaganda. It's not any kind of political rant. It's just the truth. What I've tried to teach students over and over is this. Look, we look at America today and say, oh, we're on top. We'll always be on top. We can never be moved. It's crazy. The Roman Empire is sitting around going, yeah. Mm-hmm. And the Greeks are sitting around their yogurt going, good luck with that. Okay, always understand that. I mean, the Greeks 2,000 years ago never thought they'd be on kind of the bottom of society today, but they kind of are for the most part. Not doing great in Greece, but they've historically been awesome. And so what you saw there in the Muslim empires, as many of you wrote about, I enjoyed, is that they conquer people. Instead of cutting their heads off, they said, well, you can pay more money. We'll take your money. You can keep your religion. Okay, that does not sound like Islam today. And most of you had the answers right to that of why. Well, Islam needs a few things. It needs secularization. It needs a Martin Luther. Hopefully that gets through to you. If you don't understand it, I mean, look that up. They need that's what the Catholic Church needed in the 1500s, was secularized. That means non-religious. You need to have worldly ideas in there, and that's what Islam needs today, I would argue. And the reason you don't see a lot of this protest in the Muslim world is, or maybe open thinking, is it's not encouraged. You can be killed in a lot of these countries for that, and many of you pinpointed that right away, which was really good, and I'm glad that you guys got that when reading about it. Okay, women. A lot of you focused on women in the Muslim world. Were you surprised about that, huh? You read about women, and they had all these rights, and they had all these things they could marry and divorce. But today in the Muslim world, we don't think of that. And again, that's more of an idea of Arab culture, I would argue, that suppresses women, because the Quran only mentions women once. Okay, so look that up if you want. It only says they should dress in moderate attire. That's it, nothing else. Okay, so none of this fully covered and not to speak and all of these things. So culture mixing with religion can make things different. Okay, moving on to China. Did you guys understand that? Many of you wrote that about how hopefully you saw that. The King of England writing to China to trade, and the King of England's like, Emperor of China's like, no thanks, we don't need anything from you. We have everything we want. So clearly the Chinese are far surpassing the Europeans at this time. But that's all going to change, as China's going to stick to the old ways along with the Muslim empires, and the Europeans are going to start using the inventions of the Muslim empires and the Chinese, meaning the astrolabe, the compass, gunpowder, all these things that these places have invented, but they're just going to stagnate with them, and the Europeans are going to advance forward with them and change the world. Okay, Canton system, we talked about all that. You guys did a really good job on that about women and education. Good, I like that. Okay, so this is one of my favorites, when your mate uses fabric softener. If you haven't noticed, I'm just flipping through some pretty funny slides. These are old art reinterpreted, so this is good. Then what happens, we get to chapter 18, and that's where the world really, really starts to go. Van Gogh, Van Going, Van Gone. Okay? And things really change. And as I said, you saw that about the heliocentric. My mind's just going completely blank. The helio and the geocentric idea and all that. So these are ideas back from the Greeks and all this, but the Europeans all of a sudden start to use ideas from, as I said, the Muslims and the Chinese and all these other Eastern societies, what I was trying to say there. And they really put these ideas to life and really, really take them to a new level. And you start seeing this about the Enlightenment. I always say that's when Thomas Edison invented the light bulb and they turned the lights on. That's not really what it is. But the Enlightenment and the philosophes and people start saying, hey, look, we don't need, if Luther said that you can get to God on your own, well, what about just being on your own with politics? We don't need a king or queen to tell us what to do. So they really latch onto those ideas and take a hold. And as the book saw, if you read the chapter, that really takes hold in, obviously in British North America to get the American Revolution, and then later in the French Revolution. Hopefully you guys watched the video on the French Revolution and you understand it. This is actually one of my favorites too, about giant strawberries talking shit behind your back. Okay, the French Revolution is hopefully you saw the difference in those two. And someone did email me about a question with pictures on the exam. Don't worry, I will change everyone's grade by a point. It's not a big deal to get that done. But the French Revolution, ours is very conservative. Ours is very moderate. Not a lot changes. You have the wealthiest people before the revolution are the same wealthiest people after the revolution. The French Revolution is not like that at all. The French Revolution changes everything overnight, if you didn't notice. But what are the results of that? Society can't handle it, and society buckles and falls apart. And so that's a great question that we ask ourselves at this point, and we see this even today. How come we can't have change? How come change comes so slowly? Well, I have the theory, do we like change? That's the question I always ask classes. Do you like change? And people, yeah. And other people shrug, and then we say, well, I like change when it changes good for me, but I don't like it when it changes and it's not for me. So that's the tough thing about change. Okay? I mean, personally, I went to the bank the other day, and they said they don't even have change anymore. Right? They had to put it in my account because they don't actually have the coins. I didn't like that at all. So the French Revolution is a huge moment in history, and then a complete disaster, if you didn't notice that. And that's when Napoleon, eat your food, Tina, you fat lard, comes along and really, really takes over. And here's where, again, most of your generation, our generation, were raised to believe, oh, the Nazis, they're the first of these terrible people and ever go around the world and do things. And, well, they are terrible and they do bad things, but they're not even remotely the first. Okay? Hitler's just imitating Napoleon is all he's doing. Who's imitating? You can just keep going back and back. I mean, this is a game we always play, the Mongols, Alexander the Great. You can just keep going forever. But as you can see, Napoleon, one, invades Russia in the winter, which you're never supposed to do. The Germans don't learn that lesson. But completely tries to take over and reinvent the Roman Empire and to be the embodiment of Rome, trying to pretty much establish the old order back after a world of new order has been set in by America on the other side of the continent. Okay? Trying to think if there's anything else. And of course, Napoleon is put down in the very end to come back and then put down again. So now we're jumping into a new chapter of life outside of Catholic Church having a control, kings and queens having a control, and getting into a new world that's going to be highly industrialized and highly individualized. This is one of my favorites too. Remember that you left the oven on. I love you. I'm aware. Aren't you going to say it back? Be it back. And finally, no, two more. When someone murders you, but you're already dead inside. And this is actually one of the greatest ones. When you're acting hard in front of your squad, but your horse is calling you out. Look at that. And then finally, you think it's bad now, right? So in case you don't know what I've been doing here, I've just been flipping through these slides, and they have been old art reinterpreted. I saw it on the interwebs once, and I thought it was hilarious, so hopefully you enjoyed those. And hopefully you enjoyed this. This is just an announcement to get us set up. I am reading all your discussion boards. I'm reading all your primary source responses. Many of you doing great jobs. It seems that you're reading my feedback too. Also, I appreciate that. Keep up the good work, and we'll see you again soon.